are you? 3 simple words that bring an entire existential crisis along with them. We fumble through answers like job titles, relationship statuses, and personality types, knowing full well that these labels can't possibly capture the complexity of a human life. Hence, they never actually seem to fit. Yet, it's a question we cannot escape. It haunts us from first school introductions through dates and job interviews all the way to epitaphs. And because the world offers endless flavors of label to choose from, Myers-Briggs types, Zodiac signs, football teams, and political parties, we collect identities like a hipster collects stickers for his MacBook, hoping that the collage of random logos provides a satisfactory answer. But what if we've misunderstood the question? Who you are isn't hiding in some lost part of your psyche waiting to be unlocked through the right affirmations. It's being formed through your interactions with the world. Each experience, each relationship, each choice shapes the contours of your entire being in ways that introspection alone simply can't. Here's an obvious example I'm sure you have heard of. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, perhaps history's most famous meditator and obviously quite the introspective soul. The Buddha's individual identity doesn't exist because he found enlightenment. It exists because that enlightenment created contrast with everything around it. Siddhartha abandoned luxury, rejected religious orthodoxy, and transformed from an unknown ascetic to who he is remembered as today. Each shift sowed distinction, each change carved a new boundary. His enlightenment wasn't some internal realization, it was concrete contrast between the before and the after. And while he may have discovered truth itself through introspection, he didn't leave it where he found it. His individual identity emerged through the impact these insights had on others. If no one had witnessed his transformation or shared his teachings, would the Buddha exist at all? No! That man would remain Siddhartha forever. This exact principle applies to you. Your individual identity won't emerge through introspection. It's the change between who you are and who you were. The difference between your actions and the actions of those around you. The contrast between what you stand for and what you rally against. It exists in the stories that you create. To understand how individual identity forms, we first need to figure out how you experience. It starts with sensation, the raw, unfiltered data hitting your senses. This input almost immediately triggers emotion, your body's biochemical reaction. A visceral if this, then that. Thought then works to hold on to and give weight to the most contrasting, distinct chunks of those moments, which are arranged into story, sequences with some sort of order and causality. And finally, your individual identity emerges through the combination of all the stories that feature you, shaped by your actions and reactions as witnessed by the world. Most approaches to identity focus on the higher, more abstract levels, using labels to communicate because that's what we have to transfer pure experience, but it doesn't really matter how much effort you put into communicating your identity, story, or thought unless it's backed by the dual brutality of emotion and sensation, because they provide the vocabulary, the building blocks of our understanding of those very labels. In other words, identity must be built from the ground up through direct experience, not intellectual understanding. Why? Because your intellectual understanding comes from direct experience. Example time. The Aikidoka performs beautiful forms with compliant partners. He masterfully demonstrates what specific scenarios of combat should be. The Jitseiro tests himself against full resistance daily. His body knows the strength and unpredictability of real opponents and what combat is. Both call themselves fighters, yet only one knows what fighting actually feels like. And to any third party comparing the two, the difference between practice and theory is rather stark. The most ironic part is that Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu are fundamentally the same thing. The issue, if you want to call it that, is the boundary of practice, the distinction made between this and not this. Just as physical sensation draws attention to a boundary, the surface of not you, emotion essentially creates distinction between that which you want more of and that which you would rather never face again, usually based on your past. What happened last time? Certain experiences will feel right, and other moments will rub your entire soul up the wrong way. This is emotion at work. Your gut instincts, butterflies, and quiet fits of rage are not so gently guiding you toward decisions that line up with your current perception of yourself. The further away you are from the stories that make you you, the stronger the emotion. Alarm bells ring when boundaries are crossed. But who wrote those stories and why? Did you author them consciously, creating situations that drive toward who you want to ultimately be? Or did someone else cast you as support, there to provide contrast and justify the decisions they wanted to make? Are there plenty of stories to remind you of how incredible you are? Or is it basically just a blooper reel of irrelevant fuck-ups on repeat? Would you choose to write them as they are today? Now, it may seem like we're trapped. How do you change the stories that make you who you are if those same stories weaponize emotion against thought to keep you the same? This is where most attempts at changing identity start and fail, because they treat you as the mind inside the walking bag of meat that for some reason has a habit of refusing to do what you want it to. But reframe it. What if you are not just the mind and not even the mind and the body combined? What if you treat your environment as a part of you? What if instead of trying to force your emotions to line up with your well-reasoned thoughts about what you've decided stories should be, you focus on that which generates your sensation, your environment? Whilst it seems almost impossible to enforce a new individual identity directly, you can use the higher layers to change the environment that sets the whole thing in motion in a remarkably meticulous and logical manner. Where does most of your attention go? 1. Physically, what objects surround you? What do they feed back? What kind of person spends time there? 2. Digitally, the feeds you scroll, the accounts you follow, the media you engage in. Who enjoys this? And 3, socially. Who do you spend most time with? What conversations dominate? What are the stories shared? Do you drown in a flood of scarcity, comparison, and outrage? Or is there a steady flow of growth, connection, and support? This isn't about positive vibes, it's about recognizing where your attention defaults to. The point is to quite literally set the scene for who you want to be. And usually the biggest hurdle is letting go of who you think you are. Just like Siddhartha, you will remain exactly who you are by staying where you are. I'm not here to tell you to make your bed or get rid of all the useless shit default you has acquired in hopes of buying happiness instead of having to make it from scratch. There are plenty of people who do it better. What I hope to do is convince you that fake it till you make it doesn't actually work. Change your environment until it reflects who you want to be back at you. Leaving no room for alternatives does. But unfortunately, it doesn't make a neat enough aphorism for a t-shirt.